Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're diving headfirst into something really fascinating. AI agents. You hear the term a lot, right? But these aren't just, minor software updates. They feel like a pretty big leap. We're talking about moving from just automating simple tasks to, well, to systems performing entire workflows for you. So our mission today is to really unpack this guide, a practical guide to building agents. We want to pull out the essential stuff, the actionable bits, because this guide, it's more than just a technical manual, isn't it? It's framed as a way to de-risk the whole process. Making those foundational choices right can apparently save months of headaches later.
Exactly. And it's specifically written for, product teams, engineering teams. It gives you these frameworks, design patterns, best practices, all based on real-world deployments. The idea is to give you that solid base so you can actually feel confident starting to build your first agent.
Okay, so agent, the word's everywhere. But what really makes an agent different from, say, a really good chatbot or other AI tools, the guide seems pretty clear on this distinction.
It really cuts through the noise, yeah.
Yeah.
An agent isn't just answering a question, it's independently accomplishing tasks. The key is that it uses an LLM to manage the entire workflow. Decision-making, course
correction.
right, proactively fixing things if they go wrong. And it knows when to stop or even hand control back to a human if it gets stuck. And crucially, it has access to tools. And it dynamically picks the right tool for the job, whether that's getting info or taking an action. All within guardrails, of course.
Okay, so this independent, self-correcting brain, that sounds powerful, but where does it actually, make the biggest difference? When should you actually build one?
That really is the core question. The guide emphasizes they shine where traditional approaches just hit a wall. Think deterministic, rule-based systems. Agents handle the stuff that's too complex, too nuanced for those rigid rules.
Right.
The example they use is payment fraud. It's a great one. A rules engine is just a checklist, right? If A and B, then flag. But an LLM agent, it's more like a seasoned investigator. It looks at the bigger picture, the context, subtle patterns. It can spot suspicious stuff, even if no single rule is technically broken. That nuanced reasoning is the key.
That seasoned investigator analogy really helps. So the guide points to three main areas where this adds huge value, especially for workflows that were hard to automate before. First is complex decision-making, things needing judgment, handling exceptions, like customer service refunds. That's never straightforward.
Exactly. So many variables. Or think about workflows stuck with really difficult to maintain rules, those systems. They get so complex, full of intricate rules that updates are a nightmare. Vendor security reviews, maybe?
Oh yeah, those can be tangled.
An agent can navigate that complexity much better.
And the third one, heavy reliance on unstructured data. This seems huge. Interpreting text, documents, conversations.
Absolutely. If your process involves reading emails, understanding claim descriptions, chatting with users, agents are a game changer. Processing a home insurance claim, for instance. Lots of text, different documents.
Makes sense.
But the practical advice is key here. Validate first. Does your use case really fit one of these? Because if not, maybe a simpler deterministic solution is actually better. Don't overcomplicate it if you don't need to.
Good point. So, okay, let's say you validated the use case.
Yeah.
How do you actually build one? The guide mentions three pillars, right?
Right. Three core components. First, the model, the LLM itself, the brain. And the important thing here is you don't always need the absolute top-tier model. It's about matching the model to the task.
Oh, okay.
Simpler tasks might work fine with the smaller, faster, cheaper model. Complex stuff, like that refund approval. Yeah, you'll likely need a more capable one. The guide suggests a smart approach.
Right.
Prototype with the most capable model first.
To see what's possible.
Exactly. Establish that performance baseline. Then try swapping in smaller models. Optimize for cost, latency. See if the results are still good enough. Avoid limiting yourself too early.
Got it. So model is the brain. What about the hands? How does it interact with the world? Tools.
Precisely. Pillar 2, tools. These are basically functions or APIs the agent can call. They let it do things beyond just talking. Get data, take actions. And this is really interesting for, practical applications. Agents can even interact with older systems, legacy stuff, through what they call computer use models, basically mimicking how a human uses a UI, clicking buttons, filling forms.
Wow. Okay, so it's not just limited to modern APIs.
Not at all, which is huge for automating processes stuck behind old interfaces. It bridges that gap. And the guide breaks tools down into types. Data tools for getting info database queries, reading PDFs, web searches, then action tools sending emails, updating a CRM, handing off a ticket.
Okay.
And finally, orchestration tools. This is where agents can actually call other agents as tools.
Oh, agents using agents.
Yeah, like having a specialized refund agent your main customer service agent can use.
Okay, that's powerful. And what holds it all together? Guides the agent.
That's pillar 3. Instructions. The prompts, the guidelines, the guardrails. And getting these right is absolutely critical. Good instructions reduce ambiguity, improve decisions, make the whole thing work smoothly.
So how do you write good instructions?
Well, the guide suggests starting with what you already have. Existing SOPs, support scripts, turn those into LLM-friendly routines. Break tasks down, small, clear steps. Less room for error. Define the exact action for each step. What should it say? What should it do? Be specific. And crucially, think about edge cases. What if info is missing? What if the user asks something weird? Include conditional steps for those.
Right, anticipate the messiness of the real world.
Exactly.
Okay, so we have the pillars: model, tools, instructions. Now,
How do we make them actually execute complex workflows?
orchestration, right?
Yeah, orchestration. And the guide's advice here is really pragmatic. Start small. Don't try to build the giant, fully autonomous system on day one. Build up capability incrementally. You'll have more success that way.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So what are the main ways to orchestrate?
Broadly, 2 types. Single-agent systems are simpler. One model, its tools, its instructions, running in a loop to complete the workflow. Then you have multi-agent systems where the work is split across several coordinated agents.
Okay, so when do you stick with one agent versus needing a team? What's the trigger?
Generally, push the single agent as far as you can first. Just keep adding tools. It keeps things simpler to manage, easier to evaluate. The agent operates in a run, basically a loop of thinking, using tools, taking steps until it hits the goal or an error it can't handle.
Right.
And a really useful technique for single agents, especially as they get more complex, is using prompt templates.
Templates.
Yeah, instead of tons of separate prompts, you have one flexible base prompt. You feed in variables for different policies or tasks. Much easier to maintain and test.
Ah, clever. Okay. But eventually you might need more agents.
You might. More agents can feel intuitive for separating concerns, but they definitely add complexity. The guide suggests moving to multiple agents when 1, you hit really complex logic. Your prompts have so many if-then conditions that the templates just become unwieldy. Or 2, you run into tool overload. It's not just the number of tools, but if they're too similar. If the agent keeps picking the wrong one, even after you clarify names and descriptions, maybe fewer than, say, 10 overlapping tools can already cause issues. That's a sign you might need to split things up.
Gotcha. So if you do go multi-agent, how do they work together?
2 main patterns emerge. First is the manager pattern. Think of agents as tools here. You have a central manager agent. It calls other specialized agents like tools, delegates tasks, gets results back, and synthesizes everything.
So one main point of contact.
Exactly. Ideal if you want one agent controlling the flow and talking to the user, like a translation manager calling Spanish, French, Italian agents. The second pattern is decentralized. Agents handing off to other agents. Here, they're more like peers. One agent does its part, then hands the whole task, conversation state and all, to the next specialist.
A handoff.
Right, a one-way transfer. Good when no single agent needs central control, like a triage agent passing a customer query to tech support or sales or order management.
Okay, these patterns sound incredibly flexible,
Yeah.
but it also sounds like things could go wrong. With agents making decisions using tools, how do you keep them safe and reliable? Guardrails.
Your guardrails are absolutely essential and non-negotiable, really. They're not just about blocking bad stuff. They're about managing risk data privacy risk, like stopping prompt leaks, and reputational risk, like making sure the agent stays on brand. Think of them as layers of defense, often a mix of LLM checks, simple rules, moderation APIs.
What kind of layers?
Well, things like a relevance classifier to keep it on topic, a safety classifier to catch malicious inputs like jailbreaks. A PII filter is crucial. Moderation for harmful content. Then, tool safeguards. You assess the risk of each tool, read versus write, financial impact, and maybe require human approval for by-risk actions. Right.
Plus
Simpler things like rules-based protections, block lists, length limits, and output validation to check the tone and content of the response.
Okay, that's a lot of potential guardrails.
Yeah.
If I'm building this, where do I start? Do I need all of them immediately?
No, definitely not. The guide suggests a practical approach. 1, focus on data privacy and content safety first, table stakes. 2, add other guardrails based on actual problems you see in testing or early deployment. Address real edge cases as they appear.
Learn and adapt.
Exactly. And 3, keep optimizing. Balance security with user experience as the agent evolves. It's iterative.
Makes sense. And what about when the agent just gets stuck or
No.
the task is too sensitive for full automation? The human element.
Human intervention is critical. It's not a failure, it's a feature, especially early on. It's how you catch failures, find edge cases, build that evaluation feedback loop. The agent needs a way to gracefully say, I need help, and hand control over. To a human agent in customer service or back to the user for, say, a coding agent.
So when should that happen? What triggers the handoff?
2 main triggers. First, exceeding failure thresholds. If the agent tries a couple times to understand or complete the task and fails, it should escalate. Second, high-risk actions. Things that are sensitive, hard to undo, or involve significant consequences, canceling orders, big refunds, making payments. Those should probably require human oversight, at least initially.
Okay. So pulling this all together, what's the big takeaway here? How should we think about agents changing things?
I think the big picture is that agents really are a new phase of automation. They can handle ambiguity, use tools, manage complex steps, things simpler AI struggled with. They're uniquely suited for those messy problems, complex decisions, unstructured data, brittle rules. And the key to getting there successfully is that solid foundation. Good models, clear tools, structured instructions, using the right orchestration. And crucially, building in those guardrails and planning for human intervention from the start. It's not all or nothing. It's about building up trust and capabilities step by step.
So our final thought for you listening. If these agents can act like that seasoned investigator, automating entire workflows with intelligence, what's a complex, maybe ambiguous situation in your world that could benefit from that kind of intelligent co-pilot? Something to think about. Thanks for joining us on this Deep Dive.